Good evening. In our news for tonight, government has offered 2 of the prefabricated classrooms at the Old Niue Primary School for a childcare service venture. A twinning visit by the Northern Territory Legislative Assembly and assistance for installation of new recording equipment for the Niue Legislative Assembly. Education Department has launched a book with a collection of stories from the elderly folk on the island as a reading resource for Niue High School. The local rugby sevens competition has started with 6 teams vying for the championship. Lakepa's community put on a spectacular show day more than a week ago. Government has set aside 2 prefabricated ex-primary school classrooms at Halamahaga for a potential childcare service. A call for expression of interest has been put forward to see whether any individuals or groups or businesses may want to set up a business venture to cater for this much-needed service. For the past few years, there has been lobbying by different groups to have a creche facility or childcare service made available due to a number of challenges in finding caregivers for infants in order for working parents to return to their jobs. Since the announcement, there have been several inquiries whether government would be able to provide any additional assistance or subsidies for caregivers' salaries. However, this particular call-out has been targeted for businesses or people who may be able to make that investment themselves. This could also be an opportunity for any village community groups to provide a service for members within the community. The Director General of Ministry of Social Services, Gayleen Tasmania, stated that if there is no viable proposal received by government, then they will look at exploring other options. Expressions of interest will close Thursday this week. Niue welcomed a visit from 3 members from the Northern Territory Legislative Assembly in Australia last week. This visit was made possible because of arrangements between the 2 governments 10 years ago to form a partnership to engage and promote democracy. It's an arrangement that has over the years seen MPs from Niue and MPs from the Northern Territories visiting each other's parliaments to observe and have dialogues about the benefits of meaningful debate in order to improve government performance.
This was an arrangement that all the state parliaments have through the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. And so all the Australian state parliaments have a relationship with a particular Pacific nation. So, for example, New South Wales has a twinning arrangement with Fiji. Queensland have one with the Solomon Islands and Papua New Guinea. And in our case, the Northern Territory has this great relationship with Niue. And it really is about essentially our First World Parliament of the Northern Territory assisting these emerging democracies such as Niue, although you have had self-government, I think, for a little over 30 years. But there are some issues related to that. And so we, as a parliamentary jurisdiction, will assist Niue where we can. And, for example, in this case, helping out with your parliamentary debate process. And these other states will do exactly the same. So whatever it might be, and that comes through. Over the top of that sits the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and then alongside of that also sits the United Nations Development Program too. So it's a worldwide gathering of forces, if you like, to just assist smaller parliaments and emerging democracies in the South Pacific. Niuean people should be very proud of their parliament and their parliamentary process and the democracy that you have, and the Niuean government should be very pleased with how it's performing. We're only more than happy to help and assist where we can, but it's all about a self-governing jurisdiction, and you seem to be excelling in all those areas.
Promoting democracy within the Westminster system is a critical component in any government, and there is a huge gap in the voting populations of Niue in comparison to the Northern Territory in Australia. And the push towards a workable solution for any government is never easy. However, the common goal to serve the people, to allow them to thrive under any government, is paramount, regardless of the affiliations of the voting public or elected members. While Niue is a self-governing nation under New Zealand jurisdiction, Matt Conlon believes there are ways that his Northern Territory Legislative Assembly can impart some of its principles to help enhance a positive outcome for its people.
what's called a parliamentary outreach service, that is extending democracy out into the constituencies a bit more, so the people of Niue are a little bit more engaged with their parliament. I think that's a problem all over the world, but I think in some particular jurisdictions it can be a bit more acute than others. And I think you see that a little bit here. I'm not sure whether the members themselves are how keen they are to particularly engage in that sort of parliamentary education program. They're very busy people, and so sometimes you tend to neglect your own skill set, how to advance your own skills to become a better, more active member of Parliament, how to engage with your constituencies and your constituents more. And then the other way around, how the constituents can engage with their Parliament, what they know and what they learn about their Parliament. And I think the media have a big role to play, and I think in particularly countries like this where media is very strong, it's where a lot of people get their information from, the radio and television in particular, that the media can sort of help facilitate that education and that engagement between the Parliament and the people, and then of course the people and the Parliament as well.
These three legislative members from the Northern Territory also brought with them new recording systems for the debating chamber of the Whaliwhono. This is an upgrade from the previous one that has long passed its use-by date.
The three of us are here to help install a Hansard system, so all your parliamentary debates can be recorded for future reference. There's been a few issues around that. It's an old system, it's a little clunky and a bit out of date, so we've provided a brand new one, state-of-the-art recording software and hardware, so hopefully it will assist with the parliamentary debates and people being able to reflect on what was discussed and debated in Parliament.
Our sister parliament, the Parliament of the Northern Territory based in Darwin, has helped the Niue Parliament secure our new recording system. It's to help basically with the Hansard production, so it's a very much needed equipment and will help us greatly with our recording at the moment.
The Director of Parliamentary Services, Christine Ioane, welcomed the new addition, which she said will improve the documentation of the meetings, although the responsibility to broadcast the meeting live on air stays with the Broadcasting Corporation of Niue. The Hansard recording system was officially handed over to the Whaliwhono and received by the Speaker of the House, Tongavalu Pingia. The Education Department has launched a new Wangahau publication that looks at elements of Niue stories and history from the perspective of our very own people. The journal entries were completed in 2007, but due to a lack of funding, they were never published. A limited amount of published reading materials in Wangahau makes this a rather significant development. The department launched a few literacy and numeracy publications in Wangahau a few months ago, and the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization was impressed, so they decided to provide additional funding for this particular development.
This is very important, firstly, that now the resources are available in Wangahau for our children, and this will help to, to sort of like attract them, make it more appealing to them so that they can read in Wangahau and also learn how to use the Wangahau in addition to being able to write competently and correctly in the Wangahau. There are stories, the writers, of course, are Niueans, and they wrote about how to make a umu, traditional ovens, and umu making, as well as the traditional cricket, for women as well. And there are other stories. In addition to that, what some of the writers have done is that they have translated some of the Palangi stories, or those written in English, and they have translated these ones into Wangahau so that our children or our students in these year levels, they can have the opportunity to read them in Wangahau.
Both books have been launched, will be distributed to authors of the stories, but especially to the students to be used for educational purposes.
They're very colorful, they're very attractive, so therefore we're hoping that it will be a draw card initially because of the color, the pictures, and then second will be the content. So in saying that, we're hoping that the children will love to read this books and increase their knowledge in Wahaniwe, as well as they will look at the meaning of the words and how the words are used.
The Education Department hopes to develop and illustrate more Wangahoniwe-based books to help advance students' way of writing and usage of Wangahoniwe. Rugby supporters gathered at the Niue High School grounds in Paliasi for the Niue Rugby Union 7's rugby competition that was held over the weekend. Maintaining player numbers has been a challenge for the union over the years. However, they're looking at ways to entice more players to take up the sport. This is the first of 4 tournaments, and there are 6 teams registered for the season. They are the Marlins, Hakupatua, Tamavaiava, Likulakepa, Tuapohumotu and Alofimakos. Teams were divided into pools, playing 2 games each. According to the Secretary of the Niue Rugby Union, Norman Nismisi, there was a great turnout from supporters and families, and it was especially great that all Rugby Sevens teams played the hardest with very few injuries. Tamavaiava left Niue High School as the champions for the first tournament. They won the game against Likulakepa, who placed second. There are 3 more tournaments to go, and they will be held every 2 weeks before leading into the 15th rugby season. The Lakepa Maleloa Village Show Day proved to be a major hit as crowds gathered to the village green more than a week ago. Stalls dotted around the field had a wide range of food and beverages on sale that kept people well nourished throughout the day. The agricultural produce filled the marquee, and one of the local farmers commented that they had a reasonable harvest this year because the feral pig numbers have decreased since the hunting project started. For the women's craft work, the focus this year was to weave and make laundry baskets, amongst other woven crafts and colourful material creations. The Tāsika event continues to grow more popular with each year, and this year did not disappoint, as the locals and visitors observed how the professionals throw the sika. It was an opportunity for the youngsters to also give it a go. A children's quarter had youngsters entertained with face painting, platong, bubble station, and there was even a professional clown making balloon animals. Another highlight was a special appearance by Miss Niue Aotearoa, Grace Turner. This was her first visit to the island, and she said that the trip was an amazing opportunity to connect with family and learn more about her cultural heritage. The local village youth were able to perform a number of Niuean and Pacific-inspired dances. There was even a group from New Zealand who joined in this year. Lakepa definitely showed great community spirit from those living on the island as well as those who were visiting from abroad. That concludes our news bulletin for this evening. Do join us again for our next news bulletin on Thursday.